What is going on, everybody? My name is Dakota, and welcome back to Cologne. Today, we're going to be looking at and reviewing Xerjoff's Uden. Let's get into it. All right, so today is going to be one of those days where we're not really going to do a whole lot. We're just going to chill and relax around the house. And on those days, I like to wear fragrances that is just warm, they're relaxing, they're good, you can chill, you don't got to worry about the temperature outside, whether it's hot, cold, anything. It's days like today is when I like to grab fragrances that the scent profile is all I'm looking for. And that is exactly what Xerjoff Uden is for me. So what we're going to do first is we're going to go ahead and get into the atomizer. And the atomizer is pressurized, very good burst. Xerjoff is one of those companies that tend to like to pay a lot of detail to the very fine things in their fragrances, including the atomizer. And what you get when this thing gets in the air just off that opening spray is you get a beautiful citrus, you get a little bit of like a booziness, but you're also left with a warm sweetness that is just smooth. That's probably the best way to describe this fragrance. Is the blend on this fragrance is about as smooth as you could possibly be. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and put 2 there on my hand. So yeah, when you first spray this and you get some of those citrus openings, it's an incredibly fine-tuned citrus. There's no bitterness to this at all. Like I said, it's incredibly smooth. So on the opening of this, they use grapefruit as one of these citruses. And I kind of feel like that one overshadows some of the other ones because it has lemon in it. It kind of pushes that out. And then based on the picture, it's got a form of orange or lime in it, and it kind of pushes those out too. So what I tend to get off this is a grapefruit is more of a sweeter type of citrus, and that's exactly what you get off this. So the other thing you get when you first spray this is immediately get a little bit of a rum vibe from it, and you also get a little bit of woodiness coming off the top. But like I said, the way that the citrus and the rum really blend in together is done exceptionally well. Now this is supposed to be more of like a sweet coffee style of fragrance, and some of that doesn't come in until later, so we'll talk about that later. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over some of the notes on this real quick. The top notes on this are listed as citruses, lemon, and grapefruit. And again, just based kind of off the breakdown that I get, I'm willing to bet that it's a form of orange, lime, lemon, and grapefruit. But the grapefruit does kind of overtake it just a little bit. The middle notes on this are gonna be rum, guaiac wood, sandalwood, and rose. And the rose you don't really get much of, really, for me, at least not on my nose. You do get a lot of the guaiac wood. You get a little bit of that sandalwood because it kind of gives it that like clean, fresh vibe to a little bit of a darker fragrance. And then you get a lot of that rum. But again, that's what I absolutely love about this because I do like my rum fragrances. And then the base notes on this are going to be vanilla, coffee, musk, and ambergris. And like I said, some of the vanilla you do get on the opening. Some of the coffee notes, it really takes about 15 or so minutes to become present in the fragrance. And then the musk and ambergris, the musk keeps it a little bit light, and I don't really get much ambergris out of this. A little bit more of like a darker, richer fragrance. But as this gets drawn down a little bit, we're gonna go over the price, performance, and availability. Availability wise, your average retailer is not going to have this. This is going to be more of an online shop type of thing, and unless you're close to one of those malls that have like a big perfumer outlet or something like that, more so probably going to be online. So this is the 50 mil. You can catch these 50 mils for anywhere in that 125 to 150 range on discounters. I don't recommend getting this one full retail because full retail, this is going to be about 200 plus. And if you are in some of the fragrance groups, sometimes you can catch the smaller 50 ml bottles around that 120 range. So that's probably going to be like best bang for your buck there. So now we're going to get into the performance on this. And the performance on this is actually very good, sort of. So this is one of those, it's a parfum concentration that sets incredibly close to your skin. So as far as longevity goes, I get 8 or 9 hours out of this. Longevity is actually very good. Projection and sillage is kind of where this one gets lackluster a little bit. So it does set very close to your skin, and if you're someone who moves around a lot, or if you're at a job where you can move around a lot, the sillage will be good. But if you're someone who's a little more stationary and doesn't move around a lot, this sets close enough to the skin that the projection is definitely sub 2 foot, and the sillage is probably around that 2 foot as well. So that's where this one gets a little bit tricky. This fragrance right here is definitely an intimate fragrance. But speaking of that, to me, this is 10 out of 10 a date fragrance. So this fragrance is going to be one of those where it's going to be a wintertime fragrance. It needs that cold to make this thing work. For me in my collection, where this one is going to fall is definitely going to be an evening date fragrance or an evening house fragrance, or days like today where we're not going to be doing anything and I love the profile on this, so I'm just going to spray it on and I'm just going to enjoy it lounging around the house. But now that we're into the deeper parts of the dry down on this, one of the things that I love about this fragrance that I normally don't love in most fragrances, so it's kind of catching me off guard a little bit, is the way this turns into like a rummy coffee style of fragrance that has undertones of beautiful sweetness that has a little bit of floral in there with it. So what I love about this fragrance is it has a little bit of bitter and harsh notes in it. Normally rose is a little bitter. Normally guaiac wood is kind of a sharper note. And then blended with some of the citruses that's on the top, you would expect this to kind of be a little more bitter, but that's not what you get at all. With this fragrance, you get an incredibly smooth blended fragrance that just feels top tier. This does not smell synthetic at all. This smells extraordinarily natural. And with the presentation, with every single thing you get on this fragrance, it's hard to say that it's not worth the money. But if I did say that there was one drawback to it, it is going to come back to that performance. But a lot of what you're going to get of this when it does dry all the way down is it's going to be very sweet, but you're going to get like a rum and coffee style of fragrance. And it's one of those that's almost intoxicating, wordplay, but it's a fragrance that's almost intoxicating. Like this fragrance smells so good. It's one of those that's incredibly inviting. It's one of them that's almost addictive. Like normally when people get a whiff of this, they always want to come back in for another smell. It's one that my wife absolutely loves. This fragrance right here is going to be a cuddle up on the couch and let's watch a movie fragrance. So if I had to give this fragrance a rating right now, I would score it a really high 9. The only thing I'm going to dock it for is, as something I touched on earlier, the performance on this just lacks just a little bit, specifically the sillage and the projection. For this being a parfum concentration, for all the properties that went into this fragrance wants to be loud. And maybe if the fragrance was a little louder, it wouldn't be quite as smooth. Maybe it would have a little bit of that bitter and harshness in there. And honestly, for the trade-off, that's why I'm still going to score it a high 9, because the way this is blended, you get such addictive smell that it's really hard to dock it for anything, even though it does have some performanceal issues. But I do think that is going to get us wrapped up for today. I'm going to go ahead and crack in on this bottle one more time, try to get it not fighting ring light. Xerjoff is one of those houses that just has an absolutely beautiful presentation. They have a wonderful cap. It is a snap cap. Don't recommend holding this one, especially by the cap, because if it falls, you will cry. But the way the thing is blended, the presentation that you get, I went over Xerjoff, so you get the coffinette with it and everything. Just the full presentation on this thing is just absolutely gorgeous. It's got a lot of weight to it. The atomizer is very good. So it's really hard to nitpick this fragrance, especially for everything you get. But with that being said, that is going to be our wrap up. As always, thank everyone for watching. Thank everyone for subscribing, for sticking around, staying tuned, watching the videos, the feedback and everything. I truly do appreciate getting good feedback on the channel, so that way I can help the channel grow, try to make this into the best possible thing I can. So sincerely, thank you for that. And as always, we will see you next time.